Blue Falcon here. So, um, today we have the Batman review. Alright, so let me just put this disclaimer out there right now. There's I feel like there's these fanboys out there, right? And it could go in two directions, right? You have that fanboy who probably saw the Batman movie and they were like, nah, man, they say nothing like the comics. They say nothing like the comics. Man, this thing was trash. Or you have the other fanboy who's like, oh man, anything Batman is awesome. Yeah, 10 out of 10. So I'm going to tell you straight up right now, I'm not that type of guy. I'm not a Batman fanboy. So I'm going to be as objective as possible. I'm going to try my best to give you both the pros and cons from what I perceive from the movie. Now, I will say this, right? I'm not a fanboy. But when I was younger, I did actually have like this DC encyclopedia. It was this thick book that literally had every single DC character and their background. So that does kind of, I guess, give me a basis of how I'm judging the movie. Because I am a strong believer that, if you have the source material, you can't go wrong by just sticking to the source material. If you deviate too far, then I will have to dock some points here and there. But let's just get to the movie. So I think it's always best to start off with the cons. Just get all the bad stuff out the way. How can I do this without spoiling? Okay. So for one, I'll say this, right? If you watch the Batman movie with the preconceived, I guess, biases that you had after watching the Christian Bale Batman movies and the persona that Christian Bale embodied as Batman, you might be a little bit disappointed. Just a tad bit disappointed because, I don't even know the guy's name. But the guy from Twilight, just from the jump, when I heard he was playing Batman, I would, man, how can I say this and not be biased? I mean, I didn't know how you could take a dude that was sparkling and twinkling in the sun and you turn him to the Batman. I still couldn't wrap my mind around it. But when I saw the movie, I'll just say this, and this is actually a pro actually, but I'm gonna go back to the con. I actually think he did a good job because I did not get any Twilight vibes from that dude in this Batman movie. With that being said, though, again, because I'm coming from the Christian Bale Batman, where this guy was like real masculine, he didn't really complain much. I think this Batman, he was, at least I should say the Bruce Wayne, right? Because, he has like that duality to him. Bruce Wayne was a little bit of a whiner. Just a tad bit. And, again, I'm trying my best not to spoil it. And I understand why they went that route. It's a younger Batman, so he's still kind of like learning certain things as he go. There's certain things in his past that still plagues him. And, that's pretty much all Batmans, right? His parents die, so that's what triggers Bruce Wayne to becoming Batman in the first place. But it's that battle that he has with the fact that his parents dies, and the fact that he doesn't know all the pieces to the story yet. It still causes him to be kind of like this whiny boy, you know what I mean? As opposed to the Batman I'm used to, which is like this real masculine, masculine frame, can't be moved. Strong as a rock. It kind of, that image of Batman wasn't there in the movie, at least not from the Bruce Wayne, ego of Batman, right? Another con that I can say from the movie is that, and this actually is from all the Batman movies, but in this one in particular, the action is not bad. However, again, just drawn from the source material, Batman, and for those of you who are fanboys, please correct me if I'm wrong, but Batman, I believe, is supposed to be like the greatest martial artist in the world. Like, I think he mastered every single martial arts. Until this day, it's like they're very minimalistic in how he fights. Like, you'll see Catwoman in the movie, and Catwoman was fighting in a way that was like, damn, this girl could throw down. And now, was she better than Batman? No, like, she can't beat Batman, but still, the way he fights it wasn't really compelling to me. It wasn't bad. All right, I don't want to paint this image like the action was bad. It wasn't bad. However, it doesn't live up to that real grandstand example of how I view the Batman. Like, if anybody just, what I'm talking about. If you know about Batman, especially from like a comic book standpoint, or even oddly enough, the Batman, the cartoon, the action was crazy. Now, again, cartoon versus live action, we get it. Yeah. But I just wish the action was just a tad bit better. Now the pros, right? Again, I didn't get no Twilight vibes. That's the first pro. That's one. All right, so kudos to that. I will say this for a pro. In this movie, I really love how realistic it was. Like, Batman is literally the only human that's a part of the Justice League. Like, that shows you how great he is as a superhero. But with that being said, he is still human, right? He's not unstoppable, right? And I think this movie really captured the human element of Batman better than any movie I've ever seen. Like, from the opening scene when he's fighting, dudes were actually landing punches on him. He was actually getting hurt. And that's actually what I like to see in any action movie, to be quite honest, because it's not fun for the main protagonist to just be, unstoppable. This is the reason why Superman movies have a really hard time of succeeding, because it's like, what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce kryptonite every time. I'm going to introduce kryptonite. It's like, that's the only thing that could hurt you, so it doesn't leave much room for the plot to really go any deeper than that real shallow level. But with Batman being a human, man, there was so much times where just the vulnerability of him really made the movie stand out. And again, I'm trying my best not to spoil it, but there's just this one scene in particular where this dude is just getting rocked. Now, again, some people I went to the movies with my boys, and some of them were saying how, he was eating shots from bullets, and they thought that wasn't realistic. I hear it, but he has that suit, right? That body armor suit, so it's not like he was taking it to the flesh, right? With that being said, though, how can I do this without spoiling it? I'll just say this. There is a substance that he took towards the end that it would kind of give a reasoning as to why he was able to do what he did, despite the fact that he's human, right? It's not like really, because they only showed it once, so it's not like he was using it throughout the whole movie, and it's not like because of that substance it gives an excuse as to all the bullets he was taking. But we could kind of insinuate that if he was taking that substance, I mean, after all, it wasn't the suit, so that means he might have used it before. If he was taking that substance, that might have given reason as to why he was able to take the blows that he was taking. As a man in general, I ain't trying to look at other men, right? I just got to do that. But I gotta say that from the jump. But the thing is, though, he is a superhero, right? So we know how Hollywood works. There's always gonna be that scene where they don't have their shirt, and they did it with Christian Bale, they did it with Ben Affleck, who I didn't like as the Batman. They did it with every single Batman, right? There's always that scene, right? And the actors, I'm sure they knew their role months, if not years in advance. You had the opportunity to prepare your body. So why am I even mentioning that? Because there is that scene, the eventual scene where he doesn't have his shirt on, and in it, he just looked so puny. And again, this is, we talking about the Batman, right? Like, this guy, yeah, he's human, but he's like right at the cusp of superhuman, right? Like, he's stronger than probably any human that we know, but he's not superhuman level, right? So he's right there. And the dude was just like real puny, man. Like, and it's one thing, it would have been one thing if maybe he was fit, like maybe he had cuts here or there, and then he just wasn't just brolic. I could have understood that, but he had barely any muscular definition at all. And that was kind of like man, is that really how we envision Batman? You know what I mean? Like, is that how we envision Batman? It doesn't break the story, obviously, but it just, again, I wish those little details matter, right? It probably would have made more sense why he was taking these punches if he looked a little bit more fit, right? As opposed to like just a regular skinny dude. Like, yeah, there's some things that was off on that, but get enough of that. The pros, I'll say this, right? The voice, he didn't have that whole Christian Bale, I am vengeance, like he wasn't speaking like that. Even though I got used to that voice with the Christian Bale version of Batman, he had a pretty cool voice. It didn't seem forced. Let me say that it didn't seem forced. It was pretty smooth. Yeah, man, I'm trying to think. Cause I don't want this movie to go on. I don't want this video to go on too long. It was a good movie, guys. It was a good movie. There's really nothing I can really say about it. Do I recommend it? I do. I will say this: if I had to give it a score, I would probably give it, I want to say 8. It was a solid 8. I will say this too. Just one last thing. I think it's a little bit unfair if you're going into this movie judging it based off of what Christian Bale had established. I think then by that standard, you could look at this movie and say it's a 7, it's a 7.5, right? Like, but remember, this is a totally different Batman, right? A totally different Batman. So I think to be fair to this and what this is doing, I will give it a solid 8. It wasn't a bad movie. But I lied. I gotta add this 2 parts in. Because this is actually some of the strongest pros. Going back to the fact that his parents died, right? And that's what made Batman who he is. This movie by far, and I mean, I don't even remember the comic books or the cartoons establishing such a well origin story of why Bruce Wayne's parents dies. This movie, the twist they had as to the reasoning as to why, Bruce Wayne's parents die was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And I definitely think you guys should watch the movie because, again, it's not just happenstance. He didn't walk past the alley and get shot and he becomes the Batman. Like, there was things that led up to why the parents died. And as a result, that led to why the Riddler, which is the next pro, is who he is. Like, the way they tied it together was probably the best I've ever seen for any origin of Bruce Wayne's parents, and the Riddler for that matter. Going on the Riddler, we know based off of the Christian Bale, probably I think this is kind of unanimous almost in like the Batman movie industry, fan base, whatever. The Joker is regarded as probably the best Batman, right? Or Batman villain. the Joker was just awesome, right? I forgot the actor's name, but in the Dark Knight movie, that Joker, I think, hands down, was the best villain. The Riddler was not the Joker. All right, let me just say that. All right, he's not the Joker. But when I tell you, this man was pretty damn good. I mean, from the riddles to how psycho he was, this dude, like, it brought it back to the point of, like, the villain was so good, they damn near made the movie. You know what I mean? Like, because that's how I felt, honestly, with the Dark Knight movie, where the Joker was so good, he was like the star of the show, right? And again, I won't go that far. I won't say the Riddler was that good, but he was pretty close. Like, when you realize how psycho he was, and again, tying it back to how, you know, he's connected to Bruce Wayne's parents, it was just so well executed. So yeah, I think you guys will be really impressed. Again, I'm trying my best not to spoil anything. I don't want to go too deep into the details, but you guys, I think it's a great movie. You should all check it out. I give it a solid 8. Yeah, an 8. I think that's fair. 8 out of 10. Check it out, you guys. With that being said, Blue Falcon over and out. Game hard.